The ultimate date night fragrance list for the cold weather. I have here 20 fragrances. Let's get started. Hi everyone, I'm Jolima. I always love fragrances and this is my channel Scented Moments where we discuss everything about fragrances since 2018. So I have here 20 fragrances that are perfect for date night occasions, for the cold weather. Well, as the temperature drops, we want to feel warmth and cozy and still feel a bit sensual, so we gravitate towards those fragrances that transmit all of that. And these fragrances not only will keep you warm, but they will also leave a lasting impression. So without further ado, in no specific order, let's get started with this list. And the first one is from the house of Ramon Monegal, Flamenco. And this is the Extrait version released this year. I'm a huge fan of the original Flamenco, and of course, I'm naturally a big fan of the Extrait version. So basically the difference is that the Extrait has oud and more saffron, and also the sweetness that you can find in the original, it's a bit more toned down. I would say that this is a more mature, more dark, has more depth, and it's less playful when compared with the original Flamenco, which is amazing. So this has like rose as the main note with tons of raspberry, like a jammy raspberry, rose. And in the original, you also get like a slight metallic feel, at least I was getting, which is fine, although I'm not a big fan of that metallic impression in fragrances, but actually it was not that pronounced and nor intense in the original Flamenco. And then you had musk, amber, and it was really very warm, very playful, yet very seductive and addicting fragrance. Here, a bit more upscale, a bit more mature, more depth with the added oud and saffron. Absolutely love it. The performance is great. Now, it doesn't project as much as the eau de parfum, naturally so, because in Extrait, so it will not project as much as the eau de parfum, but I absolutely love this one and I highly advise to check this one out. Flamenco Extrait by Ramon Monegal. Next fragrance from the house of Nuit Nomade, Ambre Khandjar. This is so good and it's perfect for date nights. This is all about plum. It has an amazing juicy plum in the opening with tons of amber, patchouli and iris with a bit of benzoin. It's so good. Very sensual, very alluring, but with character at the same time. Very unique smell in my view. It's not your typical, despite the name Amber, it's not your typical gooey, sweet, easy to like amber. No, it's more complex than that and it's amazing. Love this one. This is like a Fusciuni type of fragrance but with amber and iris. It's amazing. Highly advise for you to check this one out. And I have a coupon code for Nuit Nomade fragrances. Go check their website, nuitnomade.com. I always leave the link of their website in the description box down below. I also have a video where I did like an overview of the entire fragrance house of Nuit Nomade, and you have my coupon code SCENTED10, which will give you 10% discount on any fragrance or discovery set on their website, which I highly advise you to always go with the discovery set first. It's the best way to discover a fragrance brand and their offerings. And Nuit Nomade, it's an amazing brand. Their fragrances are all 100 ml in terms of size. Eau de parfum concentrations, now they have a new Extrait concentrations collection, which I really want to try. And they're really reasonable priced with a 100 ml going for 160 euros currently, which is still, again, very reasonable considering the quality, the uniqueness of their fragrances, especially when compared with the current state of the pricing market in the fragrance industry. So just to say, Nuit Nomade, it's an amazing brand, and especially Ambre Khandjar, a great, unique fruit patchouli with amber and iris. Check this one out if you have yet to. And the next fragrance are for those who prefer more fresher fragrances but with character. It's from the house of Marc-Antoine Barrois, Ganymede. I love Ganymede. I mean, I've been talking about Ganymede a lot, and I would say that Ganymede is that type of fragrance that will mark an era. I'm always saying this, which I believe that it's true. This is the next Aventus. This is the next Baccarat Rouge 540. Because it's very unique. When this was first released in 2019, this was created by Canton Biche. This was very unique. You didn't have anything that would smell like this. This is all about osmanthus, saffron, violet, and akigala wood, which it's a molecule that comes from the patchouli. And so basically this starts with a fruity, peachy, yellow floral feel in the opening that quickly settles into a very mineral, ozonic, watery type of fragrance, and in the base, leathery. It's such a fantastic scent, very unique, but currently you have a lot of fragrances that are inspired by this type of scent DNA, starting with Hermes with their H24 line and Barenya, which is the newest release from Hermes. You have Bois Imperial, I think, from, I'm forgetting the name, Essentials Parfum, which was created by the same parfumeur, Canton Biche. So you have now a few fragrances that are inspired by Ganymede, and I think as time goes by, I think you have more and more fragrances heavily inspired by this scent DNA. It's fresh, it's still very playful, and yet elegant. That's why I think this is a signature scent worthy, because it really checks all the marks. It's both playful but still elegant at the same time, has character, and it still has the fresh qualities of this, having this ozonic, watery feel. It's a fantastic scent in my view. I love this one. Now, it's not for everyone, but I personally love it. The performance is fantastic. You also have the Extrait, which I personally prefer the Eau de Parfum. I think the Extrait is a bit redundant and is not as fresh as this, the original version. And there's something obnoxious and something that simply doesn't work on my skin for some reason. I just prefer much more Ganymede. The performance is amazing, so highly advise to check this one out, and it's perfect for date nights. Ganymede by Marc-Antoine Barrois. The next fragrance from the house of Xerjoff Via Cavour 1. This one, it's so good, guys. This is all about roses, chocolate. You had a bit of a lychee feel in here, which I'm not a big fan of lychee in fragrances, but here it's very subdued, because what really stands out in this fragrance, it's all about the rose, the chocolate, the amber, tonka beans, vanilla, and it's to die for. Oh man, it's so smooth, so edible, very romantic, and it's because of that, it's perfect for date nights, in my view. It's one of the best from Xerjoff for me. It's Via Cavour 1, great performance, and highly advise for you to check this one out if you have yet. And the next fragrance from the house of Les Indemodables, Vanille Havane. It's amazing. It's the best in this genre, in this sweet tobacco vanilla type of perfumes. Vanille Havane is all about vanilla, tobacco, and chocolate, cacao. It has like a dark chocolatey, powdery feel into it, with a nice boozy, natural smelling vanilla with a dry tobacco leaves. Man, this fragrance is amazing. This is, again, the best in this genre. It's a bestseller of Les Indemodables. I find this fragrance very sexy, very sexy, very addicting. Now, it's not a fragrance that it will shout from your skin. This is an eau de parfum. You also have the Extrait, which is a roll-on, like a 9 ml or 10 ml roll-on. And now you have the new Vanille Havane Coeur de Oud, which is basically it's Vanille Havane with oud. It's amazing. I already tried it. It's amazing. I tried it at Essence this year. I was blown away. Although this will be another topic, but I would prefer that they would use the oud that they pick up into a brand new fragrance, instead of just making a flanker of Vanille Havane. But well, that's another topic. Nonetheless, it's a fantastic fragrance in its own, pricey, bit overpriced, I would say, but still amazing. But yes, I would say that Vanille Havane is amazing. Nonetheless, it's fantastic. It's really the best in this genre. If you're a fan of vanilla tobacco type of fragrances, check this one out. It's not as playful, doesn't have like the sweetness of the typical sweet tobacco fragrances. No, this is more of a bittersweet fragrance, and I think it works wonderfully. Very sexy, still mysterious because of that bittersweetness, not a full-on sweet tobacco fragrance. So yes, highly advise for you to check this one out. It's Vanille by Les Indemodables. And the next fragrance from the house of Pantheon Roma, Annone. You know how much I love this one if you're following me for a while. This is an Extrait de Parfum. This is a 100 ml, also comes in 50 ml. Annone is to die for. So this is all about strawberry, saffron. You also have rose, you have oud, and some vanilla, a bit almondy, tonka beanie, and you also get a slight touch of a cotton candy nuance, kind of resemble to Baccarat Rouge, but not being Baccarat Rouge, if that makes sense, because this is completely different from Baccarat Rouge, but I think it does what Baccarat Rouge wants to do, but better, because in the end this is a fruity, spicy, floral, sweet fragrance, and it has definitely more character, it has more body, more everything that, and Baccarat Rouge doesn't have it. Baccarat Rouge for me comes across very like latex, cotton candy, and that's it, whilst this one has much more things going on. And the only similarity that I would say with Baccarat Rouge is just the fact that this has also a bit of a cotton candy feel, but then goes into a totally different direction. So you have here the strawberry, which by itself it's quite unique. With oud, although I don't feel much oud in here, I get more of the saffron and the rose and the overall sweetness, rather than smelling the oud. But I would say that it's here because it has like a dark woodsy undertone. So I really love this one. I think it's very unique and it's perfect for date nights. The performance is amazing. It was one of my most complimented fragrances of last year. So I think that really checks out how good this fragrance is in terms of mass appealing, and that's why for me it's perfect for a date night for the cold weather. You have the performance, you have the amazing smell, sweet, playful, yet very addicting, and with a bit of a mysterious feel because it has like a darkness into it that it's very underneath all the sweetness and the playfulness of the fragrance. Highly advise to check this one out. It's Annone by Pantheon Roma. Of course, this would not be a list of date night fragrances without this one from Maison Francis Kurkdjian, Grand Soir. Grand Soir for me could be the ultimate fragrance for date night situations, especially in the colder weather. Grand Soir, so it's all about amber, and it's one of the best ambers in the game. Now this is more, unlike Ambre Khandjar, this one is more of a traditional amber fragrance. This is all about benzoin. You have a big dose of benzoin with vanilla and labdanum, and basically it's all I get here. Maybe a bit of a spicy nuance in the opening, but not very pronounced. So what really stands out in this fragrance is the benzoin, vanilla, labdanum. In the end, this is very smooth. It's very soft, and it's not a fragrance that shouts. It's not overly sticky and heavy. No, it's quite soft, but still lasting. It's a fragrance that will last you the entire night, and it's a fragrance that it's just to die for. And it also has a bit of a caramel feeling to it, I would say. I love it. I always say that this is like touching the clouds because it has a fluffiness into it. I love it. Grand Soir is really one of my all-time favorite fragrances, and one of my all-time favorite amber fragrances. And it's wonderful for date nights. It's one of my all-time favorites and my fiance's as well. Grand Soir by Maison Francis Kurkdjian. The next fragrance from the house of Indult Isvaraya. No, it's not Toyota, it's Isvaraya. Toyota as well could easily be like a date night fragrance. It's the best vanilla fragrance out there, but I wanted to mention this one because I feel that this one has a bit more character. It's not just vanilla. This one, and it doesn't have vanilla at all. I would say this is more about plum, amazing plum with patchouli, with jasmine and alamy resin, with some vetiver, but I would say that the patchouli, the plum and the jasmine are the ones the notes that really stand out in this fragrance. With a bit of a alamy resin, definitely has like a resinous nuance in here, but and the plum, it's the plum for me that really sets this fragrance apart into being like a fantastic date night. Because for me, plum, it's a very sexy note, or a chord, better saying. I love plum in fragrances, and this has like a dark plum feel, almost like plum japonais, but not as dark as plum japonais, not as heavy as plum japonais, but which is discontinued by Tom Ford. I mean, it's one of the best fragrances from Tom Ford, but it was discontinued. And the plum in here, it's quite similar to the plum used in plum japonais. And then goes into a different direction, because then you have more of a patchouli with jasmine. It's a bit indolic and a bit more resinous. It's great. It's a fantastic scent. I feel this fragrance is very underrated and very sensual. And this fragrance, it's one of those that it's very slept on. And the entire Indult house, I think it's very slept on. And this was created by Francis Courtin, actually, before he launched his own brand. So highly advised for you to check this one out. It's Isvaraya by Indult. The next fragrance from the house of Atelier des Ors, it's Rouge Saray. Again, plum. You have a big plum note in here, dark, juicy plum with cinnamon, dates, this chocolatey patchouli, vanilla, and sandalwood. It's so good. This fragrance, it's so good. It's one of my favorite gourmand fragrances. It has like, it's like you're dripping like the plum fruit in this honeyed like pot with some cinnamon, some cacao on top. It's like cacao powder. It's literally how this smells like. Amazing. It's the image, at least, that it transmits. It's very addicting, very delicious. And it's really a fragrance that I really suggest you to try. It's perfect for date nights. It was also one of my most complimented fragrances of last year. Highly advised for you to check this one out. It's Rouge Saray by Atelier des Ors. The next fragrance from the house of Amouage, from the Library collection, Rose Incense. And this is the original bottle of Rose Incense, and this is the bottle format of the previous fragrances that compose the Library collection. And this fragrance, it's so damn good, so underrated, even within the house of Amouage, in my opinion. Rose Incense, as the name implies, it's all about rose and incense. You have a big dose of incense and this jammy rose with tons of myrrh, alamy resin, some spices, and it's just to die for. You also have like a creamy sweetness in here, like vanilla in here. It's to die for. And you also have a bit of an inky vibe. This fragrance is very mysterious. It's a fragrance that it's not like an obvious like sweet jammy rose, or it's not just an obvious incense. No, this fragrance is very complex, has a lot of layers, and everything is it's very mysterious, again, because it's so unique. It's a fragrance that you will not smell like on an everyday basis. So I think it's a fragrance that will work wonderfully on a date night to leave a really lasting impression. It's really one of my all-time favorites from Amouage, and one of my favorite rose fragrances at that. And incense, because both the incense and the rose are done to perfection. Highly advise to check this one out. Slept on, great performance, Rose Incense by Amouage. The next fragrance from the house of Chanel, from the Les Exclusives, Coromandel. And this is the Eau de Parfum concentration. It's also one of my favorite Chanel fragrances from this line. Coromandel, it's all about patchouli with this white chocolate and aldehydes. It's such a wonderful fragrance. Very warm, cozy, and yet very sensual. One of the best patchouli fragrances out there. Oh man, This is so good. And it's a fragrance that I will always cherish in my collection, definitely. And if you want to have a patchouli that it's not very heavy, that it's not maybe too intense, and that it's perfect for date nights and still to leave a lasting impression, it's Coromandel. Simply put, it has this earthy quality that the usually patchouli fragrances have. It still has this earthy quality, but it's not as heavy or dense or thick as other patchoulis. It's more elegant, a bit more upscaled, and yet being warm, cozy, and sensual. It's the best way to describe Coromandel. Absolutely love it. And the aldehydes really give a sparkly elegance to this fragrance. Coromandel by Chanel, one of the best from the brand, especially from the Les Exclusives line. And the next fragrance from the house of Fusciuni, Little Song. Love this one. One of the best coffee notes that I ever smelled, with tons of roses, because rose, and as you will see, I will mention maybe another one or two rose fragrances, because rose, it's such a romantic note, and that I think it just works wonderfully. It's a no-brainer type of perfume note for date nights. And here you have tons of rose with, again, lots of coffee, cacao. You have like on top ginger and like some spices, some pepper, bergamot. So the opening is a bit effervescent and spicy, but quickly turns into a very like dry roasted coffee beans with rose. And then you have tobacco, tons of tobacco in the base, with some labdanum, some ambery, vanillic qualities. It's so good. It's really addicting, and it screams date nights. This is a parfum concentration, so the performance is fantastic, at least on my skin, and it's a high quality fragrance. I mean, I highly advise you to check the entire house of Fusciuni. It's a brand that I think it's very slept on, and it should get more attention. High quality perfumes, great performance, unique fragrances, so it has everything that it's worth checking out and exploring. So yeah, check this one out for date night, for the colder weather. Little Song by Fusciuni. The next fragrance from House of Tom Ford, from the private blend, also no surprise here, it's Tobacco Vanille. I mean, Tobacco Vanille is a reference in terms of sweet tobacco fragrances. Now, of course, this one is sweeter than when comparing with Vanille Havane from Les Indemodables that I mentioned earlier, but this is the reference in terms of sweet tobacco fragrances. There is a time before and after the launch of Tobacco Vanille in 2007. This one is, again, more of your traditional sweet tobacco fragrance with dry fruits, vanilla, spices, tobacco, of course. It's wonderful. I mean, it's a classic already for a reason, and it's that type of fragrance that I will always have in my collection, but also because I'm very attached with this fragrance. This is the reason why I discovered niche perfumery, although this is technically not niche. But when I discovered this one actually here in Vilnius, the store had the private blend collection of Tom Ford, and they were also selling in the same counter niche brands. And when I smelled this one, I was like, wow, fragrances can smell like this. It's incredible. And so the rest is history. Oh man, I just love this one. The performance is amazing. I don't have any issues with performance, but again, I think I have like a vintage or older batch because I have the gold batch code. I'm not very into batch code variations, but a lot of people do complain about the reformulations and that the performance isn't the same in Tobacco Vanille. I don't know, but what I do know is I'm very happy with this bottle, in which I have so many good memories attached. So yes, Tobacco Vanille is still a fantastic choice for a date night. The next fragrance from the house of Hermes, from the Hermes Essence collection, it's Ambre Narguile. I absolutely love this one, Ambre Narguile. This fragrance is that type of fragrance that I always wanted to have. It was forever on my wish list, and just this year I was able to purchase a bottle, and I'm so happy. I couldn't be happier. So Ambre Narguile, it's all about vanilla, amber, cinnamon. You really get like an apple pie with cinnamon on top type of feel. This for me, it's a gourmand fragrance, but still, and a bit honey, and this fragrance is still quite elegant in my view. This was created by Jean-Claude Ellena, so this has a transparency, although being a gourmand. Jean-Claude Ellena fragrances, usually they are very transparent, fresh, natural smelling, all of them, or the majority of them. But this one is different because it's a gourmand fragrance, and then you don't see a gourmand fragrance made by Jean-Claude Ellena every day at all. And I think, now that I'm thinking, I think this was the only gourmand fragrance that I can think of that was created by Jean-Claude Ellena when he was part of was the in-house parfumeur at Hermes. And this one is really one of the best gourmand fragrances ever created. Nowadays you have quite a few fragrances heavily inspired by this Sentier. This was released in 2005 if I'm not mistaken, and now you have Angel Shares by Keelan, which is extremely popular, but in the end it's heavily inspired by the Sentier. You have also Parfum d'Hermali Warjan, which I have actually, and I actually do love that fragrance, which is really a more intense version of Ambre Narguile. And you have others. Then you have the clone brands that are also interpreting this type of Sentier. So, but in the end, this is where it all started, and it does to perfection in my view. Highly advise to check this one out. It's not overly sickly sweet. I think it's just done right. Really highly advise for you to check this one out. Ambre Narguile by Hermes from the Hermes Essence. The performance is great on my skin, and I think it works wonderfully for a date night. The next fragrance from the house of Profumum Roma, Dolci Pensieri. And this fragrance is massive. You really need to go easy on the spray here. This one is all about the thickest, jammiest, sweet red rose with some spices like saffron and vanilla. This fragrance is so good, but it's really, I just want to eat it. It's a bit candy-ish, to be honest, and I just want to eat it with the vanilla, which is so delicious. I mean, really, Profumum Roma, it's my favorite brand, and they do vanilla like, I will not say like any other, because Guerlain has great vanillas, of course. You have Indult, but Profumum Roma vanillas are really up there as well. It's amazing. And I would dare to say that this has some wood in here, or definitely has like a dark woodsy undertones, although not being featured as an official note. But this has definitely some dark woodsy base. Love it. Absolutely love this fragrance. Incredibly sexy in my view. Very long lasting. It's really, again, the performance is massive. You really need to go easy on the spray here, but highly advise for you to check this one out. Very slept on. It was released in 2021, but it's not much talked about, maybe because, I mean, in the end, Profumum Roma, although it's getting more views and more traction lately, but it's still a brand that doesn't get as hyped as the other popular brands, because, I mean, their distribution isn't the best, but their fragrances are the best. And this one specifically, Dolci Pensieri, amazing for date nights, for the colder weather. The next fragrance from the house of Frédéric Malle, Musc Ravageur. This one is only if you want to go a bit more daring, because Musc Ravageur has an animalic quality into it, with vanilla and cinnamon. Although, like I said previously when talking about Musc Ravageur, I mean, the original formulation of Musc Ravageur was more daring. It was very, very pissy and animalic in the opening. And this current formulation, they toned down the animalic qualities and amped up the vanilla and the cinnamon. So it is more gourmand, having like this cinnamon bun type of image into it, with still having a animalic musk underneath, but again, not as pronounced as in the original formulation. I do prefer the original, the current formulation, and for me it's amazing. It's warm, it's cozy, and yet very seductive, very sensual. But again, it's a fragrance that I think it's not for everyone, and it's really for date nights. I mean, Either you are comfortable with the person you're going with. In the end, what I'm trying to say is I think it's not a fragrance that you want to wear for a first date night. It can be a bit off-putting because the performance is, at least on my skin, it's massive as well. It will really project and last a long time, so it can be a bit intimidating for the other person. But well, if you're comfortable enough and if you feel that much of a confidence, I mean, just go for it. Mousse Cravejor, I mean, it's a classic for a reason. It was released in 2000, in the same year that the brand was established, the brand of Frédéric Malle. So definitely go for it. For me, it's one of my all-time favorites, and it's a masterpiece of perfume, so you will never go wrong. But well, the other person might have a different view. Nonetheless, it's a great perfume that I really advise to check this one out. It's that type of fragrance that you need to smell at least once in your lifetime. It's Mousse Cravejor by Frédéric Malle. The next fragrance from the house of Les Eaux Primordiales, Iris Palladium. And like the name implies, this is all about iris, like a buttery, sweet, bit makeup-y iris with tons of amber, vanilla, with some lavender on top, some cardamom, violet. It's a wonderful, wonderful fragrance. This was actually originally released in 2015, but this year the brand Les Eaux Primordiales, they reformulated and relaunched as a new fragrance this year. It is Palladium. And for me, this is like a mix of Maison Crivelli's Iris Malika with BDK Gris Charnel. I have both, love both. And this is like the child of those two fragrances, because you have the type of iris that it's used in Iris Malika, but then you have this borderline tea ozonic feel because of the violets and the cardamom that give that ozonic sweet spiciness that gives like a tea impression that you can find in BDK's Gris Charnel. Then you have ambers, vanilla, tonka bean. I mean, this fragrance is so sensual, very addicting, still very elegant in my view. A fantastic interpretation of an iris fragrance, very complex, unique in my view. So I highly advise you to check this one out. It's Iris Palladium by Les Eaux Primordiales. If you're still here, thank you so much. I know that this video is already very long, but the last three fragrances, they are all designers, mainstream design fragrances. And the first one being from the house of Guerlain. Guerlain, is it a designer niche? Well, we'll not get into that discussion, but this is part of their more mainstream collection, the L'Homme Idéal line. And this was released this year. It's a L'Homme Idéal Parfum, which I already talked about. So L'Homme Idéal Parfum is the one that I'm enjoying the most out of the new Parfum fragrances that were released by Guerlain this year, like Habit Rouge Parfum and Vetiver Parfum. I'm enjoying this one the most currently. Now this one is a more intense version of the Eau de Parfum of L'Homme Idéal. If you're familiarized with L'Homme Idéal EDP, I think you will, and you love it, I think you will love this one also. This is a really more intense version of L'Homme Idéal EDP with this boozy licoricey amaretto that it's amazing. So this fragrance, like the EDP, it has this cherry, the suede, the vanilla, the tonka bean, and it's amazing. It's long lasting still and performs well, like in terms of projection also. And I already said this before, that if you're missing Tonka Imperial by Guerlain from the La Matière collection that was discontinued, I think this one is a solid alternative to that. And you don't need to spend big bucks on Tonka Serapia, which is the part of that exclusive extraits of Guerlain that will release, I think, this year also. So I think you can just go with this one and be happy with it, and because it also has like this almondy tobacco nuance. Amazing, very sensual fragrance that it's perfect for a date night. It's L'Homme Idéal Parfum by Guerlain. The next fragrance from the house of Viktor and Rolf, Spice Bomb Extreme. Cinnamon, vanilla, tobacco, with some balsamic, incensey nuances. Love this one. I think, and this one is like a solid alternative to Tobacco Vanille by Tom Ford. If you find Tobacco Vanille too expensive, just go with this one. For a fraction of the price, you get a similar-ish scent DNA, but with the more dark nuance and a bit more spicy, I would say. It's a fantastic scent, one of the best designer fragrances in the market, especially in the mainstream market of the designer side of things. Highly advise to check this one out. Great performance. I mean, it's amazing. Victor and Rolf Spice Bomb Extreme. And we'll finish this video with a golden key, a classic already in my view, from the house of Dior, from the Dior Homme line, Dior Homme Intense. And this is the newer version, which is actually my favorite. I was not a big fan actually of the previous formulation. For me it was overly sweet and very makeup-y. I think that they made a great job by reformulating this one. This is more elegant. This is literally a perfect in-between flanker between the original Dior Homme and Dior Homme Parfum. Love it. You have here the iris, this cacao makeup-y iris with suede, musk. It's just amazing. I mean, this for me, it's already a legendary fragrance, especially when we are talking about date night fragrances. Fantastic, great performance. I really cannot stress enough how good this one is, and if you still have yet to try this one, please do so. It's still way better than the new fragrances that are coming out like every day. Yeah, this was released in 2012 or 2014, around that, and it's still relevant to this day in my view, and it's still perfect for date nights. It's Dior Homme Intense by Dior. Finishing this video, guys. Thank you so much. If you are with me still this long, thank you so much for your support. Let me know in the comments down below what other fragrances would you suggest. If you find value in this video, hit the like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and check out all the other fragrance content that I have available, and see you in the next video. Take care. Ciao.